Are we live?
Yeah.
We are live now. It's Mike Dole at the Mortgage Firm. I'm here with Elizabeth Lopez and Tom Bennick, and it is Wednesday, and we had a little technical difficulty, so we're running a few minutes late, but I want to thank you for hanging in there. So we got a couple good topics we're going to cover today. As always, we'll look a little bit at the 10-year yield because that's what we look at for rates, and the 10-year yield is looking a little bit better today. So we are slightly optimistic as far as that goes. Hometown Heroes, we'll talk a little bit about that, about how the money comes back in play. And we're going to cover a little bit on trim notices. The trim notices are out from your property appraisers' offices. So we've been hitting a lot on portability, valuations, and things like that. And we're going to show you how you look at your trim notice, what you want to look at, and when you can dispute it.
Yeah, the Hometown Heroes conversation we're going to talk about is starting now, and it ended now. Because there is no more Hometown Hero money. So if you're waiting for that, you missed that boat. So that money went fast.
Now they'll start releasing it. Look, we know that the last couple of weeks was garbage was being reserved. People that had no money, no credit, no nothing, and they were reserving money. So on Tuesdays, they'll open up the fallout, but it's going to be getting lucky. Don't be planning on getting that money. If it happens to fall into a lap, we'll take it, but don't be planning on it. So,
one thing that also we've been talking about is just the different options that are on there. I just got off the phone a little bit with somebody that already knew about the Florida housing, just their regular bond. Mm-hmm. So that's still available. How it works is very similar to Hometown Heroes. Obviously, the qualification differs a little bit, so we could go over that with you, but there are other options. And like we said, we knew that it was going to end at some point. We didn't know when. It obviously wasn't February. So I hope you guys are picking out a good place to go eat, because it definitely lasted way long. It didn't even last anywhere near what I thought. So I think the closest one was Tom.
So wrong. I think we were all so wrong.
Yes, we were.
Bragging rights.
We were all very, very wrong, but one of us was right.
Who was that?
One of us. I'll give one person as being less wrong. I'll give somebody less wrong. I'm not going to give somebody a right.
Okay.
We'll go less wrong.
So. I'll take the less wrong. So
you said October, didn't you? You said October?
I said, I think my deadline was I think really the end of the year before. But really, I didn't expect it to go that fast. So that's fine. I'll trade in the surf and turf for a drive-through Big Mac, but I'm going to supersize it. So there we go.
Yes. Yeah, when I offer up a meal, your restaurant choices have drive-throughs. All right, that's pretty much what we limit you to. So.
Or trucks. They could be trucks.
Yes. They can be truck. Yeah, but we have a lobster truck that parks in front of our.
It's like $1 million per plate. Yes.
Yeah. You go down there and drop $50 on lunch out of a truck in front of our building. All right, let's take a quick.
But yes, just to piggyback on Elizabeth real quick, there are other programs that are available that offer down payment assistance. So just because the Heroes loan is gone, there are other options available.
All right, here we go. Let's get this.
Too soon.
Yeah, I did look too soon. They just can't give me a full day. All right, so here's a 5 days. You can see that we have been trending down a little bit. A big old spike right there, and then it was a nice trending down. So we have a little bit as far as it was up as high as 4.23. As far as remember the yield is what the 10-year treasury is what we'll look at, because when somebody says what are your rates, it depends. What is your credit score? What's your down payment? What's your loan to value? What's your what are you getting? Are you getting a condo? What kind of programs you use? There's a million things that go into rates. But if the 10-year treasury is going up, your rate's going up. If it's going down, your rate's going down. So this is what we'll look at to see if the rates are going up or the rates are going down. And again, I'll take what I can get. And you can see that we had a nice little drop here today. I get all excited when I see that drop. And then the day drop, you can see we had a nice little drop, and then we've had a little bouncing around here. So will it maintain or not? We don't really know. All right. But, hopefully we can start getting trending down, but still we lock. We just want to start locking. It's nice. Like once we start hitting it down now is when we want to start locking. And if they continue to drop significantly, we can pick up a little bit. We call it to renegotiate and get the rates to go down some. Now, any lender I'm going to tell you that says, oh yeah, well, we lock you, but if the rates drop, you drop, rates drop, you drop. It's not that simple. All right, it's not that simple, or we wouldn't lock loans. So there is something to it. And if the rates drop enough, we can pick up a little bit as far as your rate goes. All right.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of negotiating when it comes down to locking loans, what goes on behind the curtain with reserving those funds at that rate, long-term stuff. So yeah, once you lock a loan, it's locked typically, of course, until closing, unless rates make a substantial change, then we can see if we can.
Yeah. And again, back, I just want to reiterate a little bit of what Elizabeth said earlier on the Hometown Heroes is, and what Tom had said. There's a lot of programs out there. That bond is $10,000. We've got Home Run. There's a lot of down payment assistance programs. You have Home Ready, which we've always had, which is, decreased mortgage insurance, decreased rates. You have some that have no pricing adjustments, to where somebody who has a 680 credit score or 660 credit score can end up with the same rates as somebody with with an 840 credit score. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different programs out there, depending on what you might qualify for, depending on your income brackets. So what we want to do is just make sure that we're looking at your situation and getting you into the best program. So let's take a quick look here at the trim notices. And trim, when you hear people say trim notice, trim stands for truth in millage. Truth in millage. So every year the property appraiser puts out what your projected taxes are going to be, what the millage rates are going to be, what you're paying for. It's just a complete breakdown of what you're going to be looking at. So those just went out. Now, the biggest thing that I look at that we made a big deal with when we had Dorothy Jass come and talk, and I know Tom and Elizabeth thought I was done talking about it, and maybe it will happen soon, but the trim notices just came out, so I want to cover this. So here we have, and I'll use my house as an example. So we have 9446 Eau Claire Ranch Road. All right. So this is my house. And if you come down and you just look generally at the proposed stuff, you can see my proposed information over here. So the 2023 proposed taxes are out. So you can see right here, the ad valorem taxes are increasing a little bit. The non-ad valorem taxes are increasing a little bit too, but it's a very little. So I'm looking at 3564 to 3610. Now my market value went from 456 to 514. So this is what's important again for my portability. And just to kind of reiterate is, if I were to sell my house and buy a new house, my portability would be 514 minus 233. So that's pretty good. I mean, that's $280,000 that I would be bringing with me as a portability. So I would pay $5,000 less in taxes on my next house, because that portability counts as an additional exemption on my house. All right. So the 514 minus the 233. And again, it sounds good, but when I do a valuation on my house, it's 650. And the 650 valuation means I'm losing $140,000 of portability, which means that I'm losing about $2,500, $2,000 to $2,500 of portability that I should be saving on my next house. All right. But anyways, let's take a look at what was just mailed to you. All right. So we take what was just mailed to you, your 2023 proposed notice, and this here is the information. Okay. So this here shows you what your assessed value was last year, what your exemptions are, what your taxable value is, and it shows what everything is this year. All right. So again, the big thing here is the market value is the most probable sale price for your property in a competitive open market on January 1st, 2023. It is based on a willing buyer and a willing seller. So they're saying that my market value is 514 as of January 1st. Now, I will say that right now they have the value at 650. Even if there was a 5% increase over this year, worst case scenario, maybe somebody could argue 600. But we do know, because Dorothy Jass came and spoke to us, they only want to be with about 80%. They feel that they've done their job if they're within 80%. but that 80% is a huge variation. Okay, that's a huge difference on where I believe it should be. So if I were looking at selling, I would put in a dispute. I would want to get this valuation up closer to $600,000. And then that could save me another $1,500 every single year for the rest of my life in property taxes. So for anybody who's looking at selling their house the next year, I would go ahead and I would look at this number here, your market value. And if that market value isn't within, I would subtract out about 5% of your existing value to get your valuation back to January 1st. And then if that market value is not at least 90% of your valuation, I would be in there fighting it. You're probably not going to win it if you're within 10%. All right.
Yeah, that's something that she explained too. The day that we met with her,
yep.
that was pretty interesting because I know that she mentioned that they would have like their own appraisers, kind of see what that looks like. And I know they look at, we had an appraiser, the day that she was there. And I remember that was an excellent question because really, who's on your side?
Yeah.
But I guess they kind of do it to where it's not just your property. There's so many different things that they look at that it's not going to be what a general appraiser looks at.
Yeah.
So not used to what we do, but the appraisers that we know, they work a little bit different.
Yeah. But they are very clear. Market value is the most probable sale price of your property in a competitive open market, as of January 1st of 2023. So they're pretty clear on what they're defining market value to be. And even though I know she had said 80%, 90%, and again, I don't want anybody to think that when I say anything about the property appraiser Dorothy Jackson, I think anything less than she's amazing. Okay. She's brilliant. She knows her stuff in and out, but I would like to see them having greater pressure to go ahead and reflect the market values correctly. And then adjust the millage rates to go ahead and reflect it. Now, if it's a homesteaded property, nobody fights it, nobody cares because it doesn't matter because your homestead is keeping your assessed value down. So nobody cares what their market value is. So they don't argue it until they sell. And by that time, it's too late. So by the time you buy your new house and you realize you're paying $5,000 a year more in property taxes, you've already missed the boat. So it's just one of those things that's more complicated than most people understand. But I would like to do my best to call it to more people's attention because I would like us to start fighting this. And I think that the way we reduce like abuses within, these types of, situations is if we just reflect the actual information correctly, then the millage rates can follow up.
And I'm just smiling because you were about to rumble that day. Mike is very passionate about this subject, and we could see why. We could see why because I think you're right. There's a lot of just money being left there that's not being considered, and and it's funny because I probably didn't start seeing it this way until Mike kind of opened up my eyes to it, and I'm like, wait a minute. So it's definitely good information.
Yeah, it's just if you sell a $600,000 house and you buy a $600,000 house, I just don't think you should be paying $5,000 more a year on property taxes because of it. So I just think that should be, and I know that the fact that it doesn't match is hurting the smaller homeowners and, and it's helping other groups, but not the homeowner who's looking at trying to move. So anyways, but the main thing here is dispute it. So look at your trim notice. It looks like what you're looking at. And it says it must be disputed by 5 p.m. September 12th. So 5 p.m. September 12th is when you need to dispute it. All right. Now, real quick here, there are some public hearings. Public hearings on the proposed budgets will be 9/7 on Olive Avenue, 9/6 Forest Hill, 9/14 on Gun Club, 9/7, 9/11, 9/13. So I would encourage everybody that is thinking about what they need to do to go ahead and go to a public hearing. Okay. But there's few things that can have such a significant impact on you for the rest of your life. I mean, you start talking $250,000 to your net worth. When you talk the average sale of the average age of a sale in Florida is somewhere around 50 years old. And the average age is to 79, you're talking 20, 30 years that you could be paying $5,000 more, $10,000 more in property taxes because you didn't get the proper portability exemption when you sold your house and you moved to your next house. So if anybody has any questions, me, Tom, and Elizabeth, reach out to one of us. We'll pull up the trim notices. We'll take a look at it, and we'll show you, where you are and what you need to do. But definitely do it before the 12th. You want to get it done before the 12th. All right. It's not to say you can't do it afterwards, but I would want to make sure that I'm doing it now while they're geared up for it. All right.
Okay. And this is, of course, if you plan on selling the property.
Yeah. I wouldn't go out of my way to agitate the property appraiser's office if I'm not looking at selling it and there's no advantage to me whatsoever.
Yeah.
So if you're not selling it for a couple of years or several years, I would just be fine with it. Be fine with your low market value. It's not affecting you if you have a homestead exemption on it. That I can see. All right.
And again, the other thing I want to just go back to on your tax bill and the scenario that will all play out is if I was going to purchase Mike's home, even though at the bottom it shows I think he pays around 40 something hundred a year in taxes, it certainly would not be
30 something hundred. Yeah. We'll end up paying double, close to triple on that.
Yeah, so 3610 is, of course, what we're going to qualify the new buyer on.
Mm-hmm.
But while we're on the subject of taxes, and we always try to let our buyers know that that won't be the tax bill you're going to be paying in the future. Your tax is gonna be based basically on the purchase price Mike is putting in here minus the homestead exemption. So the number of 10.4 is gonna most likely be your taxes in the future.
Yeah, so
give or take.
That's a great point. Tell me right. We will collect $300 a month, so we've got $3,600 in that account. Come November, there's $3,600 in that account ready to write that tax bill out, and the bill comes in at $10,000, and that's where you pick up the phone, you call Tom, you say, hey, the lender just says I'm short $6,500, but you haven't been notified till February, so you're actually getting a letter that says you're short $7,500. And Tom, what's your answer then when they tell you that?
Oh, Mike.
Mike explains this way better than I do. So his number is.
You know what? We get the call. All three of us get the call. To be honest, when these notices come out and people's payments do change because they're under the impression that it's their mortgage payment that changed. Right. That it's their principal and interest payment that changed, and that's not the case. You're in a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. It's the other items that have changed or that have increased. So, but yeah, and typically it is, of course, the tax bill.
I would say there's one thing. There's certain indicators that help you understand who people are, because we're always out there. What I say to people is with realtors, it's finding people that you're a match with, people that you align, with. And for me, you can find out when I'm working with the realtor and the realtor is getting mad at me because I'm saying, hey, this is where the taxes are. This is where we project them to be. We want to make sure that you're putting aside, like in this case here, you're going to be $6,500 short. I'd say throw $500 aside. So I want my borrower to be throwing $500 off to the side every month, knowing that that's where their bill is going to be. And although I'm qualifying them on $300 a month, I want them to know that their eventual payments are going to go up $500. Mm-hmm. So when a realtor is saying to me, you're going to scare them away. Don't tell them that. I don't need that closing. I don't need that closing. I don't need that loan, but I can't have that customer calling me come January and February because I misled them. And I didn't tell them something that I knew was going to happen. Now I'll tell them that if you paid $650 for the house, they're probably not going to set you at $650. They're probably going to set you closer to 600, maybe 550 or something like that. So they're going to be in that, I like to say the 90% range. So, mm-hmm. And then we'll calculate it off of there. So they know that there's a range, but I know their taxes aren't going to be $3,600. Now I will say though, this year, they're going to fall under my homestead exemption. So it will be $3,600 this year. If I didn't have a homestead exemption, it would change this. It could easily change this year in November. But anybody that if they bought my house right now, they would be locked into my taxes due in November. And then the next year it's going to adjust. But we know these things. So we want to be honest with these customers. And again, it truly helps me find realtors that might be a match for me. And I know Elizabeth and Tom are the same way. You know, that is so big that we need to make sure every closing needs to generate closings because the customers know that you have been treating them honestly, you know, and when you're chasing that one closing and you're getting that call in February, March, and that customer knows you misled them, I don't know. I don't want any part of those calls.
Well, and the other thing is that's, that's a lot of money. I mean, I don't care where you're kind of like, whatever. It's as much to us as it is to you. So, I mean, I've gotten those calls before in the past. We got fleet with the taxes and stuff. You certainly want to know in advance if your payment's going to be going up that much money and the bank is going to, force you into now raising your escrow payments.
Yeah.
Right. And the one thing you want to do for sure is you want to contact your servicer because you don't want to not just pay it. And I know that sometimes you'll see that monthly payment go up like just by a lot. I had somebody that I didn't even know that this was a thing. I had somebody that actually was able to, because they'll give you options. So let's say you're short on your escrow. Your options are typically you could pay it all up front, one lump sum, or you could distribute that between 6 months or 12 months. But believe it or not, you could actually go more than 12 months. I had somebody go 4 years on that shortage. And then I think that their escrow originally, I think it was supposed to be like $700 originally a month. And there's no way that they could have done that. And I think at the end, they ended up increasing it by like 40 something or 50 something dollars, which is more reasonable than $700. But they had to call their servicer, work things out, and they extended it for 4 years. So I didn't realize that they could do it for that long, but just whatever you do, just call. Don't think that it's just going to go away because it's not. And just make sure that you're in contact with your servicer.
Yeah, good point. The last thing you want to do when you come across something like this, or when you come across maybe insurance increasing and you're getting that call from your lender, maybe you're a servicer saying you need insurance, and the last thing you want to do is not address the issue. Even if and I've had customers that have been a little bit hesitant to call either a servicing department or what is that called? A force with loss prevention, or what's the department that you go to right
loss
before
prevention? Yep.
Loss prevention, which is that's an intimidating call to make. Call us. We'll get on the phone if you're okay with it, and we'll conference in. All three of us have worked at the banks. We're pretty familiar with all those departments. We'll at least get you through that phone call, but do not make the phone call. The last thing you could do is lose communication.
Yeah. Yep.
Big thing too is if you're 15 days late, you pay a penalty. It doesn't affect your credit, but some people are like, oh, I'm already late. Get it worked out before you're 30 days late. Get it worked out that month, because you know what? It doesn't. If you fell behind, you pay the penalty. Pay the penalty, but make that payment that month. It doesn't hit your credit at all. But definitely give the servicer call and just say, we're running into these problems. What can we work out? Always check with them before you start taking mortgage rates. So. And I'll throw out with that too, sort of a side note, student loans. I got people in student loan collections and stuff like this. I can't even believe I'm saying this out loud. These student loan companies have been some of the best customer service companies out there. I'm amazed at how helpful some of these student loan companies have been. Like, people that, they're not making much money. They might be in deferment. We'll put them on a payment plan of $0 a month. And it's not we. The customer calls them up. They look at their stuff and say, okay, we're going to put you on a payment plan. It's going to be $0 a month, $5 a month, whatever. But give them a call. We get people out of collections on payments or back in deferment or anything. But you'd be absolutely, I'm continually amazed at how customer service oriented some of these student loan companies are. So.
Yeah, they actually had one of my ladies that just got helped. And I think her monthly payment, we were calculating because of the formulas that we are given on how we need to calculate more student loans. I think she ended up with like a $9 a month payment. And obviously the qualification, it was either $425 that I needed to take, $425 versus $9. And all she needed to do was make that phone call. Huge difference. So yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah. Make the phone call. Make the phone call. Even if it's a bad phone call, make the phone call.
Yeah.
All right. What other good stuff? Do we have anything? Well, let's just tonight our home buyer class, tmfclasses.com. we're going to cover the trim stuff too. So have your trim notice, have whatever, and we'll go through. We'll look at yours. We'll take a look at some numbers and we'll see what you might need to do. So I don't care. We'll sign into your, we'll take a look at your house. I don't care if you're in Broward or Dade or, Martin or St. Lucie County is. We'll take a peek at it and see if there's something you need to address on that.
Mm-hmm.
Please go to our Facebook page and like us, share us. The mortgage firm Wellington, Lake Worth. There we go.
And Elizabeth, do you have any Spanish classes coming up?
So next Tuesday, first Tuesday of the month, it's going to be on the mortgage from the tmfclasses.com. So sign up if you can't make it live. But then after that, at PR Bakery, we were supposed to have it today, and I have an appointment that I have to go to this afternoon, so I cannot make it this afternoon. But we will be having it on September 6th. So for the month of September, two of them coming up, September 6th and the 27th at PR Bakery.
Okay. And Monday night, tmfclasses.com. Remember that TMF, the mortgage firm, tmfclasses.com. We have mortgages for realtors. So Monday night, 6:30, mortgages for realtors. Tuesday night, 6:30, mortgages for Spanish-speaking customers. Wednesday night, we'll be doing the trim notices this Wednesday and next Wednesday. Then we go back to a regular home buyer class. And then Elizabeth is doing PR Bakery. I tell you, I don't care if you don't speak any Spanish, go to PR Bakery because they're delicious. They are legit bakery.
They are. They're good.
Legit bakery. All right. All right, guys. We appreciate everybody joining us. We will see you next week. Have a good week.